Hello, everyone. I'm redoing this broadcast, but anyway, this is the second live stream I'm doing. Yesterday was in Spanish, so right now I'm doing it in English for in order to uh, have more people know about our history. I usually talk about ancient Mexican and Central American history, and right now what I'm gonna talk about it's about the ancient faces which I recreated with artificial intelligence, with AI technology, and based upon the ancient statues, figurines, and what have you from those times. So our indigenous ancestors, for millennia, not one millennium, but several millennia, they created statues. They created faces, either on stone, carved, even drawn. And there are many examples. I'm going to talk about it. But you might be wondering, why is there the picture of this volleyball player? Well, first of all, this woman does not exist. I created it with artificial intelligence technology. So her face, she doesn't exist. And this is the kind of technology I did to recreate the faces and the bodies and the attire of our ancient ancestors. So basically, this is an example of how I created this person. This person does not exist. She does not exist. And there's another example I can show you, of persons that did not uh, have not exist. But the thing is that I recreated the faces of our ancestors based on real images, basically. And so I'm trying to figure out here the way of changing. So even though, yeah, so how do I? Mm-mm-mm. Mm, effects. Okay. So this is the volleyball player I'm showing you. By the way, I'm broadcasting on YouTube and TikTok. So let me show to the YouTube people the volleyball player again. But I'm going to show you another person that does not exist. So this person, which I'm showing in TikTok, she does not exist as well. Her face, her features, I just created it. And it's part of the artistic endeavor to, this is the example of work I do. Someone was asking me if I do this, and I can actually do that. You can go to my Patreon, and I actually like doing it like cartoonish characters from Pixar. That's how I usually like to do. But let me show you another example. Oh my god, this is so I'm having some issues. Effects. Okay, so this is another example. This woman does not exist as well. The body, everything, I created it out of nowhere. She does not exist as well. Nothing of her exists. So that's how I created this. Um, our ancestors had a different world, a different way of dressing, a different way of doing their hair. So this person again, what I'm showing you in TikTok, at least in TikTok, does not exist. How did I create that? With AI technology. Now I'm gonna give you some examples of how I created her and how I created all these people. So let me jump into the Olmec statue. So the Olmec statue, you can see on one side, it's the famous Olmec head ancient Olmecs created these colossal heads, and the facial features are so famous that many of them have been showcased in many, even in The Simpsons. I was talking earlier about that you can see the famous face of the Olmecs. So when I first saw the face when I was a young boy, I always thought that the features, the Olmec features, were exaggerated. That's how I viewed back then uh, the features of the Olmec. But if you can see, for instance, you can see the nose, the lips. I always thought they were somewhat exaggerated. But when I took the face into AI, and the AI recreated it, this is how it came up. So what I saw, first of all, I was wrong. These are not exaggerated features. This is how the person would look like. Obviously, when you make a statue of someone, you can see the statue of, I don't know, someone famous like Princess Diana. And you know Princess Diana, what she looked like. But when you see a statue of maybe a rock star or a baseball player or what have you, even the wax statues, you can see these faces look somewhat weird. Dice, Cuaumomochtli 420, ¿pones estas cosas en el YouTube? Sí, de hecho estoy haciendo una transmisión ahorita en el YouTube y puedes ver estos videos también que he hecho en el YouTube. I'm reminding people that I'm going live also in YouTube as well in a live stream, and you can check out my videos full in depth on my YouTube. You can follow me there. So, hola Jorge Am Marquez. So you can see the features. And you can see the nose. It's almost similar to mine. Let me show you. By the way, I'm not from Villahermosa. I'm not from Tabasco. But the nose, you can check the nose. It's very similar to the Olmec AI representation of these guys. So, yeah, you can find a lot of those Olmec statues in Mexico, in La Venta, in Mexico City as well, which many people have criticized of how many of these objects ended up in Mexico City, which is part of taking culture from their own regional places to Mexico City. Mis labios son gruesos, dice Jorge Anmar. Yeah, talking about lips, I'm gonna be talking in English and Spanish more or less, but today it's English. Yesterday was Spanish. So yeah, you can see the lips. They're thick, and this is the same kind of lips. You can see the arch. There's this kind of like McDonald's arch. You can see it here. It's the same. I kid you not. So I put this quote-unquote helmet, which isn't a helmet, by the way. It was actually a headdress. But since you cannot put a headdress on stone, what they did was put it back this way, and there's the name of the person. That's the name. That's the glyph name of this person. So I just put this quote-unquote helmet just in case. So the eyes, you can see the droopy eyes going down. The same. You can see the same. The eyelids as well. But for me, it was the nose. I gotta tell you, the nose was really impressive to see how really similar it was. Again, I need to tell you that this is the kind of work I do. Let me give you an example back. So this person in TikTok I'm showing, not in YouTube, in TikTok I'm showing a woman wearing a bikini. Let me just go a little bit. So she doesn't exist. She doesn't exist. I created her, and I actually put this the Quebec the fleur de lis. You can see. because of some job I was doing, because I do these kind of tricks to for people who sell clothes for their stores. So I use this one. Oh yeah, I remember. I mean, this person asked me to on TikTok to put him as an example. Yeah, I'm gonna search for your photo because I'm kind of getting a hang of it. Estoy tratando de hallarle la onda to how to make this work. So again, this girl, she's pretty nice, right? She doesn't exist. She doesn't exist. But this girl, she did exist. So I'm gonna show to the YouTube people which girl I'm talking about is Kabal Shock. So she was the queen of Yashilan because she was married to the ruler of Yashilan, but she was also the general. So she was the high warrior, the main military person in Yashilan, which usually that was the way it was back then. Women were not only warriors, women were not only rulers, but they were actually generals, if you will. They were great people. So, because of how she was so famous, Kabal Shock had this beautiful monument created in her honor, and you can. There's actually this is just one monument of three that was dedicated to her. One it's in London actually, so there's no colonialism that. So one it's in Mexico City, and yeah, they basically it's they're all over the world. So this woman, this is the woman right here, the one that's kneeling. Now she's kneeling because she's performing a sacred ritual. Like I said, she was the greatest warrior in Yashilan. She was actually the general. She's described not only as the wife of the ruler, she's described as a queen in full, not not just a queen because she's married. No, she's queen in full and general, of Yashilan. So, as part of her job as general, Kabal Shock, Queen Kabal Shock, had to perform this sacred ritual where she takes a bloodletting from her tongue. So we don't know much about it, but what we know is that this is necessary for her to attain uh, a different sense of consciousness in order to enter into a ritual to summon the serpent spirit, the spirit of serpents, which is associated not only with war but also with the beyond. So this is the recreation I did of her. So this is Kabal Shock. What I did, this is her face. So how did I do it? I grabbed the face, her face, the tiny face. I made it big so I could see all her features. Then I went to AI technology and created the face. So basically, this is the face. This is the same face. You can see the eyes, the eyelids. You can see the everything. The mouth. The mouth for me was amazing. So this is also amazing. The way the face cuts here versus here. I mean, it's so the AI. This is the interpretation of the AI, and what I did was put all the flowers, earrings, what have you, everything, just to have the idea of how a Mayan queen might have looked like, and especially this one. She did exist, like I told you. So, quick reminder. So when I create AI, obviously, I am doing artwork, like I said. In this case, in TikTok, I'm showing a girl in a pool wearing a bikini thong. She does not exist. So again, I did this for an artwork showcase. She doesn't exist. But which one did exist? She existed. So I'm going to show you the Mayan queen, Katun Ahau, the Mayan queen Katun Ahau, which I recreated again with AI technology in order to show her face. For me, she's gorgeous. I mean, look at the face. She's somewhat in her maybe between 20s, between, yeah, somewhat like in her 20s. So this is her face of this queen of Piedras Negras. Piedras Negras is the name of the site of the ancient kingdom, this Mayan kingdom, and we don't fully know the real name of this kingdom. That's why we still call it Piedras Negras. But anyway, I mean, there are several possibilities, but I'll talk about it later in another video. So this is the face. You can see the face matches this almost almond-shaped face, so there's a difference. Remember, I was talking to you about how the Olmec statue had these thick, wide noses. So here it's different. She's more exquisite. So she's a Mayan again, like the previous one. She's of Mayan ethnicity. So trigger warning: there are ethnic differences even within indigenous Mexicans and Central Americans. So we are different. And earlier on in the live, I was doing a live when someone told me, even in our family, we have different people with different noses and different skin colors, and that's true. So anyway, this is her face, and I love this one because it shows not only how the face, the head, I'm sorry, the skull was changed, because Mayans, what they did is they deformed, I don't know which word to use, but they used this technology to create or elongate a different shape for their heads. That was a beauty mark, a beauty situation, very similar to what today, I don't know, people put horns here, or they make tattoos in their eyes. That's now a thing people are doing, or many things that people do nowadays, or change their teeth into fangs. Well, the Mayans did that way before it was cool for people to do it. Way back it was. So they changed. They were really hardcore about it and changed their cranial structure, similar to a cone head, but not a cone head, but it was similar. So the AI caught that as well, and that's why I love the way the above the eyes, this area, not only here, but how things go. And this is amazing. So this is one I really liked a lot, of this Mayan Mayan queen. And actually, there's another statue. This is one, and there's another one where she is with her young daughter. And I also recreated her young daughter. And this is a first because her usually kids were not portrayed in statues back then in ancient Mexico and ancient Central America and Mesoamerica. They usually were not portrayed, but this gal, she put her daughter in the picture. So that's really cool. Many believe, I believe as well, that she was so powerful and so empowered. I mean, way before feminism. And remember, I've been talking about this, that we were feminists. We were feminists way before it was a thing. Way before wokeism and any other movements in the 70s. So she was a really awesome woman. Her history, for some reason, has been, you can see it's broken, which indicates two things. Either there were looters trying to find gold, or, like I said, she was such a powerful woman that probably some other guy probably thought she was not so good, and but we know she exerts a great deal of power in Piedras Negras. So I'm gonna show you more of these images that I made with artificial intelligence. So this is another one, Yol Iknal. Show you. So again, you can see the videos I make on YouTube. I'm doing a live stream for YouTube and TikTok. So whatever you want to see, you can check out this video later in its entirety in YouTube. So Paisano Cagado says, "Hi everybody." She's like, yeah. I mean, she's awesome. Sometimes when I do these recreations, even though she might be my great grandmother or something. They're really gorgeous. They're beautiful. I fall in love with them. Yes, so I do personally have some favorites, and not only about history, because in this case, Queen Yolignal, she's one of my favorites, but because of, again, of how she stood up for her kingdom against other enemies that wanted to bring her down, because either because she was a woman, and we have data that Calakmul and Yashilan wanted her kingdom just because she was a woman. So Yoliknal stood her ground, and again, not only I admire her, but even King Pakal. Have you heard of King Pakal? Pakal is very famous with ancient aliens, the ancient alien guys, because they say that King Pakal was the famous astronaut. You know, the guy that's going like up in a spaceship or what have you. So, well, he was not an astronaut, but what King Pakal of Palenque was a huge fan of Yoliknal, like huge. Like he dedicated a lot of artwork and a lot of things to her. And actually, many of us believe that Pakal emulated her. The way King Pakal protected his own city and his own people was because she did it as well. So what I did is I took this her face. So this is a drawing. This is a drawing made by Linda Schill. So this researcher made this drawing. I didn't do it. But this drawing is based on the actual statue on the tomb, the sarcophagus of King Pakal. Again, Pakal was such a great fan of Jolignal that when he died, he said, I want her pick on my sarcophagus. It's, I don't know, like someone having Dua Lipa or Miley Cyrus in there. But back then, she was the real deal. So her face was on King Pakal's sarcophagus, and you can. It's actually very clear. But I like the drawing because you can actually see the facial features, like the nose, the eyes, the mouth, and the lips. So you can see the lips, for instance. It's in the drawing. It seems as if she had long Joker-like lips, but no. What they do back then, they actually back then created these beauty features where they had these incisions in their skin. uh, Sir, do you know how to speak Spanish? Sí, un poco. No, la verdad, ayer tocó hablar en español y hoy me puse a hablar en inglés porque ayer hubo muchas preguntas en inglés. Entonces voy a tratar de ser un día en inglés y otro en español. Y tal vez algún día, no sé, un domingo, ¿no? En francés, porque también la gente necesita conocer lo que es nuestra cultura. And people need to know our culture and our history. So today it's in English, this live transmission. And yeah, I'm going to try to do English, Spanish, and probably French somewhere along the week. So, Yoliknal had these incisions in her cheeks. That's a beauty a beauty thing. That's something that the Mayans did way before white people did not only those things but also tattoos. Because Mayans had also tattoos back then. It was a thing way before, way before whatever you might think Western society invented. No, it was something that we do. So the face, this is her face. I applied this, her face, her facial features to the AI. So the AI brought me this. So I just added, her whole apparel and these beautiful um, colors. And just a fun fact: the T-like thing she's wearing, like a necklace, or I don't know how to, this T, like a T. It's not a T. It's actually the glyph for the. It's called ik. So ik means, like in Chinese, chi, and it means the divine air, the divine air of life. That's loosely the translation or the understanding of what this symbol that she's carrying here, the ik, the T-like symbol, that's what it is. The divine air that gives life, obviously, to humans. So this is Yolignal. I'm gonna show you another just a reminder. So she doesn't exist. She doesn't exist, and I created them. I created all of them with AI technology, but she exists. She existed, not right now, but hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and I'm talking about Naek. Now, Naek was a really important Mayan queen from Calakmul, and she was very famous during her time. We don't have much data about her actual battles or any military activities, but she was so famous that she actually did tours. Like today, the Queen, when she was in a better health situation, the Queen of England would visit places. So she visited a lot of places, even foreign places, to visit people and visit other women, because we know that even amongst women they had their own fans. So some female warriors emulated other female warriors and said, when I was little, I saw her, and that's why I became a warrior. And I'm talking about hundreds and thousands of years ago, way before feminism. So her name is Naek. Her name is Naek. You can see this is a drawing of her portrait, which is set on stone. So in this portrait, Naek, she's standing on a palanquin. If you don't know what a palanquin is, it's like a structure which is carried by people. So there's people down, and above the palanquin, like in a parade, it's her, Naek, the warrior queen, showing and displaying her power. And that's how they displayed their power back then. So the AI technology, I took the facial features you can see here, and I took them to what it was interpreted like this. Things that I like: the eyes. The eyes look eerily like the same. It's like almost the same. The nose, you can actually see the nose. It's long, but kind of pushed to the inside. You can see from the drawing. And remember, back then, those portraits made by Mayans, by our indigenous ancestors, were actually spot on. And the reason we know that is because we can actually identify their faces from each other. And we can see that in Palenque, we can see that in Calakmul, Tikal, Tonina, Piedras Negras, a lot of places where you can actually see the difference between faces, or father and son, you know. So there's a difference. Adalis PR sends me flowers. By the way, I love flowers. And right now I love this time of the year because there's a lot of flowers. But anyway, I'm not gonna talk about flowers because, but I'm obsessed with flowers. So anyway, the talking about flowers, the way queens, warriors, especially warrior queens, display themselves, it's almost like flowers, like beautiful birds. So not only she has her headdress, but you can see the feathers falling, and everything has to do with showing this greatness, and that's what I loved about this one. I really loved her face. I really loved her face. Her lips. You can see her lips, and they may seem, how can I explain, like really circular. But if you see the image, when you turn around, that's the thing. Like when you turn around, your lips change, or someone else's. Notice people. Try to look at people, and they change. So that I made a few twitches there, but other than that, I really like this one. So another one. Now here's another one, famous one, King Pakal. So let's talk about King Pakal and how. So King Pakal was the greatest ruler of Palenque, and probably the greatest ruler the Mayans ever had. Probably. Here's the name, Pakal. So it's Kinish Hanap Pakal, who was, like I told you, he was an admirer of Queen Yoliknal, and he dedicated a lot of stuff to her. And Adalis PR in TikTok says, "Que bonita, she's so pretty." Yeah, they're gorgeous. I mean, they're gorgeous. And I was talking about that even though, I mean, there are our ancestors, they're really, like, their faces, their beauty, it seems almost otherworldly. And it's not just because they're AI generated, which may seem a little bit off for our eyes, but it's also a kind of beauty that either you don't see too much because of the media, or because we don't consider that kind of beauty beautiful anymore. If kind of. So for our YouTube people who's watching our YouTube stream, Pakal, it's in the middle. The statue is amazing. You can see, I mean, it actually rivals whatever the Greeks or the Egyptians or the Romans did in Europe. I mean, the facial structure, it's all art. And because we have so many features, detailed features of this one king, we recreated it with AI technology, artificial intelligence, and I just added this thingy that you can see here. It's like a rope, kind of like a rope. Okay, so the hair, you see the difference, because back then there were different hairstyles, and so yeah, this is amazing. Probably, maybe the face should be a little bit longer in this one. Yeah, because I did another one which I twitched it and tried to make it a little longer. But other than that, I mean, you can see the eyelids. Usually, eyelids is if you're looking up to a person straight to the face, the eyes are like this. But when you rest or read or go down, eyelids tend to do this. So a lot of people say, maybe the eyes are not the same. No, yeah, they're the same. The problem is the AI detected the way the eye actually is. So in the AI, the person is like this. In the statue, it's actually more realistic because he's doing like a more serene uh, pose. So that's why they were great masters back then, masters of art. So this is King Pakal, which I created with AI technology, and it has been featured in some local media in Mexico. So this is an image a lot of people hate. So it's I'm showing in TikTok. Let me see in YouTube if I have it. Yeah, I have it. So this is an image a lot of people hate. So what I did is with AI technology, I tried to create what would happen if King Pakal would have children with Queen Leticia of Spain. Now, Queen Leticia is currently the Queen of Spain, and actually, she is more worthy of the throne than the actual King of Spain because the current King of Spain, is French. I mean, he is from French origin, the Bourbones. But anyway, I digress because I was trying to make the children of a king who lived hundreds and thousands of years ago with the current Spanish queen. Now, the results, you can see the results in my YouTube video, which has received obviously a lot of hate and even threats, which is good for me because the algorithm picks that up and I get more views. But anyway, what the reason I put these two um, together is because I wanted to see you. I wanted you to see the differences between a Hispanic woman. This is a Hispanic woman. She's Hispanic. She's Latina because she's from Spain. Being Latino or being Hispanic, it's not because you're from Chiapas. People from Chiapas were native. People from Hidalgo, people from Michoacan were native. So this guy, King Pakal, he's from Chiapas, Palenque, Chiapas. Even though he was from thousands of years ago, his facial features still looks like many people from today. And that's actually something a lot of people criticized me. They said, oh, you're disrespecting King Pakal by putting him like some person from today. He's not a person from today. Remember the image I showed you about the girl in bikini that I created out of nowhere? She doesn't exist. Where in this case, this picture doesn't exist, even though it's based on a real person of a real statue. But this image, I didn't went back in time and take a picture of King Pakal. I just recreated it with AI. So you have a Hispanic Latina here, Queen Leticia, and on the other side, a native indigenous king. So both royalty, both, but they don't look the same. Another criticism I receive, and I receive a lot in this, what I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people tell me that I whitewash them. That for some reason they have to be darker skin, more, I don't know. For some reason they don't see it. They think they are too white, too European. But again, you see the features. I didn't create those features. What I did is take from the statue of Pakal, king, Mayan king, to the AI. The AI did this. I just fill in the blanks, like the hair, the thingy here. I also did with Photoshop the nose, how it ends, because of the deformity they back then did to their cranial structure. But even without that, I mean, you can see right up front that we don't look the same. And a lot of people say, Oh yeah, you whitewash your the faces you recreate. No, I'm not whitewashing. So I'm gonna talk about that also later on about the famous whitewashing I do. So this is a queen. So this queen, Huachanil Ahau, she was queen of Naranjo in Guatemala. So this Guatemalteca, she was a queen, a Mayan queen. That's her face. And for the YouTube people, you can see it. She's the one in the side. For the TikTok people, this is her face. Okay. In her case, even though she's my favorite, she's my personal favorite Mayan queen. I don't have the time. I haven't done her full um, headdress and everything, but the facial features for me were really important. So you can see the eyes, you can see the nose. But for me, oh my God, the lips. You can see the lips. How this lower lip actually is bigger, and you can see from her face. Now, here's another criticism that I have. How do I get the facial features even though faces are really almost destroyed? They're really weathered. And what I say is that I take the basics. So, again, the face that I created with AI, it's not an actual photo. I'm just taking like a composition when the police take, the facial features of a criminal from the victim. So the victim's telling, this guy, he did wrong to me. He had dark hair, glasses, eyes, beady little eyes, a beard, big nose, lips. And they might say, oh, that's the guy from TikTok and YouTube. I'm just kidding. But anyway, so that's how I do it. I just take the basics and I enhance the facial features. So there's the eyes. You can see the eyes, almost Spider-Man like eyes. That's how I call them. You can sue me for that, but that's how I have the way of knowing how to put the eyes once I make the face. So this is Queen Wakchanilahau, great queen. By the way, let me talk to a little bit about her. So this queen, she was so powerful that she not only refounded the city of Naranjo, but also she went to war because a lot of people, again, saw this young girl, 18-ish or 16-ish years of age, become a queen, open the temple portal, because every temple, the pyramid, had this portal to the other world, a very spiritual thing, nothing to do with ancient aliens. Okay, no. This was mostly a spiritual thing, and once they saw that this famous girl was doing that, they wanted to take advantage and invade her. So she stood up against for herself, for her kingdom, and went on to even take down her enemies. So Maribel Ruz pregunta, ¿por qué no habla español? Porque ayer estuve haciendo el live en español, hoy tocó en inglés, mañana vuelvo a tocar en español. Y como les comentaba, a lo mejor algún día por ahí hago también en francés para que más gente se entere de las cuestiones de nuestra cultura. Sobre todo, esto es para dispersar más la cultura. Pero no se preocupen, voy a seguir hablando más de esto durante los días venideros. So I'm reminding people that even though I'm doing this in English, I usually also do it in Spanish. So I usually jump around. And I will do a French one just in case for people because I want people to know, and also because of the time, it's almost a good time for LA. So basically that's why. Now, so she was a really famous one, and And yeah, that's basically it. So Yeji's craft shop just signed in. This is another queen. So for our YouTube viewers, it's the next one. Yeah, here, next one. And for our TikTok viewers, it's here. So this is the face, the round picture of, it's a drawing actually, based on a statue of the mother of King Pakal. She is Sak Cook. So Sak Cook was actually a really powerful woman. Um, she actually kinda became a queen, but not, because what she did was her kingdom was in chaos. There was a big war, and everything was destroyed. So she stood up and said, "You know what? We need to make things go back to normal." And people say, "Okay, is it because you want power?" And she said, "This is her." She said, "Yes and no. I mean, because if I take power, my rivals will also want to take power, and my city will never go anywhere." So what they did is she made a compromise. She made a compromise with her political rivals to have unity, that she will never be a queen in full, that her rivals will never be any kings or queens, which her husband was part of those rivals that were seeking power in order to rebuild the city, the kingdom of the Mayan kingdom of Palenque. So the proposal was, okay, I'm not gonna be queen, none of you are gonna be kings, but how about my son? Your son? Yeah. This toddler? Yeah. So he's gonna be king. Okay, so they came into agreement, and her legal reform on how to create unity in Palenque, it's what made the kingdom come back to life. And as we know, her son, King Pakal, became the greatest ruler, greatest Mayan ruler to have ever lived, even till our days. And probably, yeah, he was. So she gave her power for her city, but she was still powerful. I mean, in her own sense. They're asking me, Dalis PR, mañana a la misma hora, tomorrow at the same time. Yes, I'm gonna try to be tomorrow. No, what time is it? Yeah, probably tomorrow. Yeah, more or less at the same time. Um, yeah, more or less. So this is the story of Sakukuk. Now I'm gonna show you more. Where is it? So remember I was telling you about. So she doesn't exist, and I created her with AI. She doesn't exist, and I recreated. I created her face with AI. I created her as well, but I also created her. Now, how did I come to create someone out of nowhere? So I made a technique. So here's my technique. What I did is, so you saw how I take the facial features of statues, of ancient statues, into the AI and to create the faces. Okay, so I took many statues and then made the AI create tiny differences, like thousands and millions of results, and this created like a population. I recreated a population of those times. Let me give an example. So these guys, remember, like the girl in the bikini I showed you, that she doesn't exist. Well, these guys don't exist. These guys, they don't exist. I created them. But here's the deal. They represent the faces of ancient Purepecha from Michoacan. So what I did is based on the facial structures of statues and figurines from the Purépecha region in Michoacán, and basic ancient Michoacanos, and I recreated their faces. Now, what you're seeing here is what a usual female Purépecha would look like, more or less, in the year, yeah, what would be 14th century, yeah, 13th century, and this is what a guy would look like in the Purépecha region, again from this same area. Nicantlaka Dreaming Wolf says, "Good day, Yowali Anahuaca, Kwali Yowali Anahuaca." So yeah, right now I'm doing this in English, and yesterday was in Spanish. So I'm gonna try to do various for different people to know. So So we saw the recreations of Mayans, but now I recreated an entire population from teeny tiny differences multiplied into millions. So you can see the video in my YouTube channel of how I created the Purépechas, and there are many female Purépechas and many male Purépechas which I saw, and yeah, Quali, Nilce. So you can see there like many faces, differences that the AI went twitching and correcting and moving just a little bit to create an entire population. Now again, this technique I have been so criticized about because, and I understand the criticism, I'm making people out of nowhere. So these people, they didn't exist. Like I told you, let me show you the ones that did exist. So, he existed, she existed, the one in the left existed, and the one in the right still exists. Yeah, Pakal. Well, this is quote unquote God, but I'm gonna talk about it later if I have time. She existed, he existed as well. She doesn't exist. She doesn't exist. She doesn't exist. She doesn't exist. So, based on that, I recreated this way of creating real and unreal faces. But this is just for not only for fun, but also for scientific purposes of showing how facial features still look the same like we do today. And remember the nose I was talking about, the wide nose, like in my case, you can see my forehead has a similar, like this guy. I've seen women in Michoacan like her, and you can see the videos I did of how the different faces I make. So this is for Michoacan. Now this is for the state of Hidalgo, what we could consider Toltecas. So Nicantlaka says, "You're doing great work. Love your content. Thank you so much." And actually, this means a lot when people say they like it. I mean, at least they're liking it and enjoying themselves with it, learning something out of it. It really brings joy to me because usually not only people disregard all of these indigenous and native issues, our history, our culture is eclipsed because of the whole Hispanic Latino conundrum that's thrown over us, but also like people that are not from our culture, they just insult, they just criticize. I love a good critique. I actually love a good critique. Yesterday I was having good comments, really interesting comments in YouTube. They were critical, and I love it. I love when people make me think, but not when people say, "Oh, I don't like this." Why? Because you're whitewashing. That's one of the and so with this, I received a lot of criticism because apparently I whitewashed them. I whitewashed this girl and I whitewashed this guy. So again, what I did, and you can see the video of how I recreated the Atlante from Tula. Now Tula, it's an ancient city, an ancient Toltec city, which is now in Estado de Hidalgo, north of Mexico City. So that was the heart, the capital of the Toltec quote unquote empire, which actually was a triple alliance. The Toltecs had a triple alliance of Tula, Coatlinchan, and Colhuacan. So from the three of them, the big player was Tula. And so Tula became the high capital, the high Toltec capital back then. I'm talking around the year 1000. So what I did was, so you can check the video of the Atlante, which I recreated the face, and I received a personal message in TikTok. By the way, you can also write me on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. I'm as Macuilcuetzpalin. That's my name. I was born in Macuilcuetzpalin. But so this guy wrote me. He's from Hidalgo, and he told me, you know what? The face of the Atlante that you brought as the AI recreation looks exactly as an uncle I have. I told him, can you show me a picture of your uncle? So this guy lives in Ixmiquilpan. If he's listening, I don't know if he's listening because he speaks Spanish, but he lives in Ixmiquilpan. Ixmiquilpan is part of this Toltec quote unquote domain or empire. So he showed me the picture of his uncle, and his uncle actually he's like a doppelganger of the AI recreation I did of the Atlante. So his uncle actually looked at. I didn't know the uncle. I didn't saw his picture nowhere. I mean, in Facebook or whatever. And he said, it looks kind of like similar, really similar. So what I did is with the facial features of the Atlante, I made the same technique I did with the Purepecha. And I recreated the Toltec now all intermixed, and not only between populations, because back then there were a lot of people movements, migrations, and what have you. The concept of migrating has always been within our people, and that's a cool history lesson that I might tell you later, because there were even laws put in place by the Chichimeca Empire for immigrants in order how to make them integrate themselves into the Chichimec domain. But that's another history. So anyway, I made again thousands and thousands of faces based on these millions and millions of mathematical operations made by the AI, and these are just two of the thousands and thousands I made, and you can see the video on my YouTube channel. So this would be a Toltec girl around the year 1000, and this would be what a normal Toltec guy would look like, and he actually kind of looks like the Atlante, which I recreated. The result I made from the Atlante. So I put a little bit of mustache because back then people used to have just tiny hair, like sprinkles of it. They had sprinkles, and when they reached a certain age, they had the right to let the piocha grow. This is the piocha. So the piocha is actually an ancient name that comes from this part of the beard. As you can see, Mexicans have a really hard time growing this part of beard. So nowhere I will be able to grow here because of genetics. And that's another issue of how we know we're natives. But yeah, so basically when we reached a certain age back then, men would be able to have this piocha and yeah, over here. Okay, so this is what Toltecs would look like. And again, oh, someone else told me, again, from the area of Tula, and she also wrote me on TikTok. Yeah, yeah, on TikTok. She told me that what struck her about this girl was the eyes. And I asked, why? Why are you interested in the eyes of these Toltec recreation, AI recreation? She told me that a lot of people in the Tula area have these eyes, which I concur. Which I concur. I've been a lot there. I have family there actually, and these I call them almond Toltec eyes because they're not quite almond, but they look a lot like the eyes from the Atlante, like really just basic arch, arch. That's it. So I noticed the AI picked that up. You can see it with the guy here, even though he has kind of droopy eyes, and you can see more. You can see more faces on my YouTube channel, and I uploaded some videos here in TikTok as well. So more recreations. Let me show you more recreations. As I say, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter. So I already showed you these guys from ancient Michoacan, but this girl, oh my god, she's one of my favorites. Let me show you for my YouTube followers. So this is the recreation, just one recreation of the thousands and thousands I made from ancient Coahuiltecas, the people that once inhabited southern Texas, North Tamaulipas, North Nuevo León, and North Coahuila. So basically, the Rio Grande area, it's the one that was inhabited by the Coahuilteca people. Now, the Coahuilteca people encompassed a lot of tribes, like the Comecrudo, at certain point, like the Carancagua in Corpus Christi, Texas, the Alice, Texas area. So from Corpus Christi and Alice, and all the way to Matamoros, Reynosa, McAllen, Los Dos Laredos, Laredo, Texas, and Nuevo Laredo, and Coahuila. Basically, that's the whole area up till almost reaching Monterrey, Nuevo León. Almost reaching Monterrey, Nuevo León, which would be the areas of Sabinas, which would be the area of Agualeguas, China, Nuevo León. Yeah, and Tamaulipas would be Camargo. So yeah, that's basically. And Texas side would be Zapata, Texas, Hebronville, Texas as well. So yeah, that's the great area of where the Coahuiltecas lived for hundreds and thousands of years until the arrival of the Hispanic people, the people from Spain. So again, one of the criticisms I have is there were no statues back then in that region of South Texas and northeastern Mexico. That's right. We haven't discovered any statues whatsoever. But how did I come with the conclusion that these faces are the ones, let me show you, that this face is the one that a lot of Coahuilteca girls had. And one of the reasons I can tell you is that, well, let me explain how I did it. So, this is gonna sound controversial. What I did is I took a lot, almost like data mining. I took a lot of pictures, a lot of photographs from people from the region. Now, then I physically went looking which people was actually from the region, because there are people who are not. And I even asked a lot of people about this. I have a comment in YouTube. Ramon Vasquez says, Thank you for your hard work. I find this interesting, informative, and helpful. I'm trying to learn more of my native history. Muchas gracias. Yeah, that's the reason why I do it. And one of the reasons why I don't mind getting criticized for doing this AI artwork is because I just want to reach people. Either the good way or the bad way, by people being mean or by people being grateful. I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind as long as people know about this history that it's not out there. So again, I did this technique. Once I had these millions of faces, there were millions of faces, and it took me a lot to make this project. What I did was I put it into the AI and then went to the painstaking um, thing of having to take indigenous facial traits one by one from the millions of one. So basically, what I try to discriminate, taking what looks very Europeanish traits and enhance the indigenous features. Now, that's why I'm telling you my technique was criticized, because contrary to what I just showed you, that like King Pakal, you have the statue. I just took the statue and made it into an artificial AI image. Or like the populations from the Purepecha. I mean, there are statues, ancient statues, from where I can take the data of the uh, facial features. But in the case of the ancient Coahuiltecas from South Texas and northeastern Mexico, there is no data but ourselves of people that still live in the area. So the reason I took millions of these photos and then discriminate the features one and take the other, it's to see, to create a correlation of having many options. So once I had many options, I created this population out of nowhere. So this woman, she doesn't exist. Remember the bikini girl I showed you earlier? The volleyball girl I showed you earlier? So I created them out of nowhere. They don't exist. I actually posted the bikini girl on Facebook because there's this store that sells custom made apparel, and I made the girl. I made the girl, the bikini girl, out of nowhere. I just created her with AI, and a lot of people were hitting on her on Facebook. So that's when I knew, you're onto something. I mean, when you have the ability to cheat on those damn men, look, lustful men that are hitting on artificial intelligence made up dolls, that's when you know that I at least have an idea of what I'm doing. So I recreated this face. For me, this is the cutest one. I love her. I love her. I mean, if she ever existed, I'd go back in time. But since there's no back in time, that's why I took a wife from there. My wife is from the my wife's from the region. So eerily enough, when I created this woman, because mainly I created girls, the Coahuilteca girls from the region of South Texas and northeastern Mexico, they were mainly women. And the eerie part is a lot of them did look a lot, not only to my wife, but also to old photographs from the Apache and the Comanche people from the early times when photography was invented. And again, that's when I said, I'm onto something. Even though I didn't recreate Apache or Comanche people, the fact that I have this face, and you can actually zoom in or zoom out and see, a resemblance to certain Comanche or Apache girls, it's amazing. And again, not from today, from the early days, from when photography was invented. And so, thank you so much for the applause. Bertram Digital Lobo 1111. No, what? 111. So, yeah. And I recreated a lot. You can see the full video on my YouTube accounts but this is my favorite. If there's ever a DeLorean available, I would, gladly go. And, like the bikini girl, people were hitting on them. So, This is not an AI recreation. No, she's not an AI recreation. But I'm showing you this picture. This is a. Let me show you on YouTube. No, on YouTube I don't have the picture. But anyway, so yeah, I'm showing you this picture because in TikTok of this Teotihuacan dress, for one reason. One is I made the dress out of zero. This is not AI. All everything I've been showing you, that was AI. But the thing I'm showing in TikTok, this picture, this is not AI. This is real life. So I created this dress out of nowhere. So in order for me to make these people that don't exist ever, never, they don't exist no more, I have to be able to know how to make this. And years ago, I made this. So this is Quetzali, and here Quetzali is modeling this beautiful clothing from Teotihuacan a la mode of the year 350. So this is what cool girls were wearing in the year 350 in the area of Teotihuacan. Now again, this is not AI. This is the one I'm showing on TikTok. It's real life, real face, but it's just an idea of what I do, on how I know where things go, and you have to be able to recreate these faces to know not only the faces but also the way people dressed. So that's also very important to note. I mean, you I also did in TikTok. I'm showing from the Aztec calendar the famous face. So you can see a lot of that. You can check out my videos on YouTube. So yeah, those faces were recreated with AI technology. Now finally, I just want to finish with Kurikaweri. So Kurikaweri, if you look in a book, he is the quote unquote god of fire and war, which actually he was the spirit. You know, back then there were no gods or goddesses. Not because I'm atheist, I'm not even leftist, I'm not even liberal. But the thing is that there were no gods, there were not goddesses. Period. And the reason we know this is because every culture had this belief of a great spirit, and this great spirit had the ability to permutate to other states or forms of appearances, or showing themselves or creating themselves in the form of, for instance, rain. And yeah, like native Jaguar says, teotl. In Nahuatl, that's the word teotl. And yeah, exactly, like Nican Tlacan Dreaming says, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing, that there were no gods and goddesses, but we do have these representations. So how do we account to that? Well, the thing is that the easiest way for me to explain it, it's by putting an example with nerds. Now, gonna talk about a little bit about nerds. You know how nerds go to these comic book stores and buy this Iron Man pop thing. I don't remember the names. If someone knows, please tell me. Or this Captain America, or this Spider-Man, Rick and Morty, and they're called. There's these like tiny dolls, pop. They're called pop something. Anyway, and you see these nerds buying and the Pokemons and whatever. Okay, so but they don't exist. But they don't exist. Uh, and yeah. So they don't exist in real life. So my interpretation for me is that these figurines, these statues, are, even though they represent the spirit, for instance, in this case, Kurikaweri represents the spirit of fire and war, more or less loosely the equivalent of Huehueteotl, but it has these rings of fire. You can see the rings of fire here. So I recreated a face with artificial intelligence. So this is the face, the fangs in TikTok. in YouTube you don't see it, but in TikTok you can see the real statue with the fangs, the big eyes, the round eyes, the fire coming out, because you can see the hair made out of fire. And that's how I recreated with AI. So this is the face. Again, you can see, remember the nose I was talking to you about? Yeah, I think, yeah, you can see the stream I'm doing on my YouTube channel. If not, I'm gonna try and save this recording somehow. But yeah, I'm also doing the YouTube on my YouTube channel, the live stream. So you can see the nose resembles a lot, these alar areas of the nose, and the face. What I did is to the mouth, I just added the fang-like teeth. This was just for fun. Diosa de la Luna, I love that name. Native Jaguar, awesome representation of a turtle. I actually just finished Coatlicue, which was really requested after I did the La Virgen de Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe, and a lot of people say, well, if you're doing the Virgin of Guadalupe, why are you not doing Coatlicue? So I just finished Coatlicue. Probably I'll be uploading the video probably tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Because right now it's 2:20 for me, 2:20 a.m. I know it's early in LA and certain parts of California. But anyway, yeah, that's how this live stream is ending. If you have questions, you can comment, you can tell me. I try to follow back. So if I don't follow you back, please do tell me, because I love following people back, especially on TikTok. Not so much on Twitter. But anyway, someone's gotta do the dirty work. But yeah, I love following people back. I love following for what reason, I don't know. Someone told me, oh wow, you're following me. I'm like, why not? If you're following me, how cool is that? I'm gonna follow you. I wanna see your shenanigans. What are you up to, or whatever your job is. A lot of people take videos of their construction job, yeah, whatever. I just want to see what you people do, because this is what I do. So these are my shenanigans. I want to see yours. So if I don't follow you, please tell me. And thank you so much. Thank you, really.